Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends Series Retro Spider-Man 2099. This is a reissue, repaint, whatever you want to call it, of a figure that we got many years ago in the Hobgoblin wave when the Marvel Legends Infinite series was still pretty new early on. So we have essentially the same exact figure, some minor deco differences, but not a whole lot. Like the spider logo on his torso is painted a little bit differently. Essentially the same thing, but the design is a little different, a little bit smaller. And then the blues are different. The reds are similar, but a little bit different. So, but it is essentially the same exact figure. A figure that is probably pretty high up there in value. I don't really keep track of that, especially some of these older figures. But I know it's a figure that a lot of people have wanted, so it's pretty cool that we got it, and then pretty cool that it's on the retro card, the Spider-Man the Animated Series inspired card. I love these figures. That I have, a second one that I'm going to be hanging up on the wall, and then I have here the one that I'm going to open for you guys and review and show you guys and compare it with the original release. So let's get right to it. The retro card looks amazing. I love it. It says Web Cape over there on that side. We got that nice artwork of Spider-Man 2099 there. Pretty cool. Looking at the back of the package, we get that same image of Spider-Man 2099 and everything going on. The bio says, when a lab accident causes half his DNA to be rewritten with a spider's genetic code, geneticist Miguel O'Hara becomes Spider-Man. So pretty cool. I'm trying to think of one of these Spider-Man 2099 figures. The bio was wrong, right? I think they got his name wrong. It was probably this one, the all-new, all-different Spider-Man 2099 from the Sandman Build-A-Figure wave, I think it was. So that's the other version of the 2099 that we have. And that's it. Let's get right to it. It sucks to open these things up, but that's why you get two. Here we go. Okay, and here's the Spider-Man 2099 figure out of the package. Somebody on Instagram asked if we could actually get this figure into the pose that's on the package, and yeah, kind of, I guess. A little bit, depending on kind of how you work it out. You can kind of do something like that. The ab crunch isn't the greatest on this figure, and the leg articulation at the hip isn't the greatest. In all honesty, this is, in my opinion, an outdated body mold, an outdated buck, because it was new when the figure came out, right? The Pizza Spider-Man. So it's quite old at this point, and there's so much better body molds out there that Hasbro does now. But essentially, this retro figure, it's essentially the same exact figure that we got before, with the minor deco change. So they kept it that way. I would like to see Spider-Man figures no longer use this body mold, because it's just not my favorite. I think we should see a lot of this, the all new, all different Spider-Man 2099 body mold, or even the Spider UK body mold, over this one. But I guess for this one, for Miguel O'Hara, it works. This particular figure, this suit, the all new, all different, was a much bulkier suit. I don't know if I want to say it was a metal suit. I read the initial run, I think in its entirety, and I can't remember for sure if it would be like a metal suit. But it's got all kinds of bells and whistles and gadgets, and he can fly and things like that. So maybe it is. Whereas this one, I think it's not any kind of metal suit or anything like that. So it's a little bit smaller, I would say. But it does look really good, and it's a good opportunity for those that missed out before to get their hands on it. So let's zoom in and take a closer look. Okay, so here's an up-close look at the Spider-Man 2099 figure. It would almost be crazy to think that they would use this head sculpt once and be done with it forever. So now we get a second release, and I really like it, because it's not that it's like the red is just painted on over the blue. It's sculpted at least, so that is what's actually really cool about it, and you could kind of see the spider detail into it. But it's nice that they didn't just, like paint, like with some of the Spider-Man head sculpts, they just paint on the lenses and the eyes and everything. Whereas this, we kind of get that sculpted on, and then with the paint applied, it really helps stand out a lot better, which I really like. Looking at the rest of it, the paint apps on this guy are pretty good. There's a couple of weird things. It's going to come down to QC on yours. You know, when you have a dark color base figure and then you paint over it, you know, it can get a little bit weird. I have some weird like paint spray or however the, you know, on the deco hits right there. That's a little wonky. But overall, it is pretty good. You know, Hasbro, I think, has come a long way in terms of the paint apps to where some of these earlier Marvel Legends Infinite Series figures were. It's kind of like a huge thing. So in some spots, they kind of seemed a little like overdone and not sloppy, but a little globby, if that makes sense. They almost look a little caked on. And this figure almost kind of reminds me of that, and I don't know why that is, if it's like the particular shade over the blue or what's going on. So just kind of a quick side-by-side comparison so you can kind of see and get a feel for it right next to each other. You can see a little bit better. Looking at the differences in deco, so here you have the spider that's much larger on the original Hobgoblin release versus here where it is quite smaller, a little bit thinned out in the head of that spider. And then here you could kind of see the spider legs a little bit more because you got like 4 legs actually that come down, whereas on the old one you only had like 2. And then the blues are different. It's, you know, having them side by side, looking at them, it's going to be on personal preference of which one you kind of like. I kind of like the metallic blue look to this figure, so it just kind of holds a special place for me. But this new one, it kind of looks a little bit more realistic to what a suit would look like, I guess, if that makes sense. So again, it's just kind of, you know, preference. We get a lot of light that shines on this one, whereas this one, not so much. So in terms of photography, this one may be kind of working out a little bit better. I could be wrong on that, but that's kind of what my thoughts are on there. Another difference is the hands that these figures use. So we kind of get these clawed hands because that's how artwork, how he was always drawn. So we have those claw hands, whereas here we had... which kind of claw, but not really. So the hands are actually different, but the rest of the figure itself is the same. We get those spikes there, painted in red. We get the damn pins, so we got the blue over the red because the inside is blue, but then the outside ends up looking bad. You know, soon, hopefully, will be the days of completely pinless where we're not seeing any of this old stuff anymore. Hopefully one day. Here we have the web cape. It is essentially a translucent plastic, as you can see there, whereas this one looked a little like foggy or frosty. This one is pretty much clear, a little bit softer of a rubber as well. But they are the same, and you just peg it into the back of the figure. You don't have to have it on there, and it can kind of move around freely. But yeah, there you go. And then just blue throughout there. So it's just the red on the torso and the arms. But looks good. Okay, for accessories, he comes with fists as well. So out of the package, he has those open claw hands. So here we also have fists, and then we also have wall crawling hands for the Spider-Man 2099, which is pretty cool because the original figure didn't come with much else. It was just the figure and whatever Build-A-Figure piece he had there. The hinges and the pegs are red on there to kind of fit in fairly well, because if you look, you have the arrow pointed on there. If the hinge was blue, it would probably look pretty bad because the original release kind of had that where you see that blue right in the middle of the red. So there's the accessories now for his articulation. Okay, so the articulation for the Spider-Man 2099 figure, he can look down that much. He can look all the way up, which is great. You get a full rotation, of course. Not a whole lot of pivot, but a little bit. You can get the shoulder to go up that high, so basically straight out. You get a full rotation. Of course, we have that butterfly joint, so you can actually get the arm to go back only a small amount and then come forward for the crossbody only a small amount as well. So again, the articulation and the points are there, and at the time it's like, oh wow, shit, look at this butterfly joint, we get a huge range of motion, whereas in reality it's just not as much as we're used to with some other figures. So that's why I just, outdated body, I think, Hasbro can and should do better. Upper bicep swivel there, double jointed elbow like so, wrists swivel, and they hinge. So that red hinge looked kind of bad from this point of view, but then really good from this point of view. So just kind of give and take when it comes to that. I don't know what the real best answer would be on that. So just something to think about. Ab crunch, not very good, because that's all you're getting. It's a Spider-Man figure. He should have a hell of a lot more ab crunch than that. Going back, not really a whole lot. Again, limited in its range of motion, unfortunately. We have a waist swivel, legs go out that far apart, which is a little bit better than the original, which the legs only went that far. So, a little tiny bit better, because I know at the time with the Pizza Spider-Man, they adjusted the hips to add in a little bit more range of motion. He can't kick forward super duper high, though, which is great. It can go back quite a bit of ways as well. You have an upper thigh cut, but mine is completely stiff. There we go. Upper thigh cut there. We have a double jointed knee, like so. And then the foot hinges down all the way. Get a little bit of hinge up. Ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So again, it was a good body mold 7 years ago when the figure released, or whenever it was. I want to say 6, 7 years ago. So at the time, good body mold, good figure. But we've gotten so much better now that I would like to see this body mold used so much less or not at all. And use something newer, like the all-new, all-different Spider-Man 2099 body mold. Not this one. For a lot of the skinnier characters, this is the same body that we've been getting. And hopefully it stops. So let's see the side-by-sides. Okay, so here we have the Spider-Man 2099 figures, all the Miguel O'Hara figures side by side. You guys let me know down in the comments below which one is your favorite. I'm still going to go with the all-new, all-different. For me, it's the body mold that really wins that figure over for me. The design is, very different from what we were used to, but it was actually a pretty good comic run, so I do hold a special place for that one. Between these two, at the time I really liked the metallic blue, but I am really digging this figure, and this one really reminds me of the old ToyBiz figure from the animated series line. I love that 2099 figure. It was one of my favorites when I was growing up, and it was just basically a blue figure with the red paint over it. It didn't need to be metallic in any way, and it wasn't. So this figure is starting to really remind me of that and taking me back and giving me a little bit of the nostalgia factor. This figure, again, held up for all this time, but it is nice that people have a chance to get their hands on it, and a slightly better version, in my opinion. We get hands this time around as opposed to nothing else. But it is still a very special figure, one that I think for a lot of folks, they have this, they are not going to get this, or they're getting this just for the card, or whatever the case may be. But we have the three side by side. If I were to rank them, I would go 1, 2, 3. But you guys let me know what how you would look at it and which one is your favorite. Okay, there is my review. Hopefully short and sweet. Not a whole lot for it. It is a reissue, repaint. Additional hands, difference in the hands, difference in the deco. But again, a figure that I think a lot of folks really wanted and now can get their hands on, or a figure a lot of folks can pass on because they have the original. So it kind of works out for both newer collectors and older collectors. For people like me that are absolute sucker for these damn retro cards, they got me. Either way, I'm a completist. I'm going to get every single release at this point anyway. But because it's on a retro card, makes me a little bit more excited because I can add it to my wall, which I've already done. And now this figure officially makes the retro Spider-Man figures now have the same amount of figures as the Avengers releases, whereas the X-Men is one short. I think it's 12 releases so far for the Avengers retro figures. We are now at 12 for the Spider-Man figures, and we are at 11 for the X-Men. That does not include the deluxe figures such as the Kingpin and the 2 Hulk figures. The X-Men, that does include that Deadpool, but no more X-Men that we know of coming, but the damn Hercules and Tigra figure are coming, which is going to throw the count off, but we have the Webman figure that is coming, so then now Spider-Man's going to be 1 short, but then X-Men's going to be 3 short. It's just like this whole thing of getting it to balance on the wall, and it's unbalanced right now. But temporarily, Spider-Man and Avengers are balanced. But anyway, I'm rambling on. You guys let me know down in the comments below. What do you think of this figure? Are you happy that it's released? Or is it one that you're just going to pass on because you have the original? Let me know in the comments below. If you guys liked the video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching.